Nature is full of wild creatures that wouldn't hesitate for a second to devour us all. It only takes a small opportunity, a fleeting moment of weakness for the animals to see us as more than appetizing prey and decide to attack us with all their strength. An example of this can be found in hippopotamuses. At first glance, these large animals do not seem dangerous. In fact, their appearance may seem adorable or striking. But make no mistake, hippos are cruel creatures that enjoy killing humans for pleasure. To show you just how easily these creatures can destroy human life, today we'll take you through some incredible hippo attacks caught on camera. If you agree to join us, after watching these videos, I assure you that you will begin to be very afraid of these animals. Number 6. For many, fishing days are a time of complete tranquility in which only peace and company matter. Generally, entire families gather to go fishing, although sometimes it is a perfect moment to share with a childhood friend. This was the idea of the protagonists of a video recently uploaded to YouTube. It shows two men perfectly focused on the water. Both want to catch a fish that's worth it, so they focus on what they were doing and ignore what's happening at the edge of the river, an area where their eyes can't reach. If you look closely, you'll discover a dark head hovering above the water, watching the unsuspecting fisherman. It's a hippopotamus, and it seems determined to prove that it's its territory. Almost instantly, the hippo disappears underwater. The world once again appears to be in a state of tranquility, but his false sense of peace lasts only a few brief seconds, for immediately afterward, the hippo punishes the unsuspecting fishermen by attempting to overturn their boat. The onslaught is brutal, violent, and so strong that it almost knocks them over. Fear takes hold of the men's bodies who don't understand what's happening, but aren't willing to stay to find out. They immediately turn back and decide to take a prudent option of escaping from the danger. However, not all people are equally lucky when it comes to hippos, and the following video will prove it to you. Number 5. When a group of friends gather near a lake, it's inevitable that the temptation to dive into its cool waters doesn't arise, especially if you're in Africa on a hot day. It was precisely this temptation that attracted a group of children to splash around in one of the lakes in the area. For them, there was no danger. Although they didn't know it, this was the haunt of several wild hippos, who frequent the area to hydrate or relax after a day in the sun. You may not know it, but there's nothing a hippo hates more than having its territory invaded and its tranquility interrupted. Unfortunately, the youngsters had no idea of this, and in the midst of the laughter and water fights, they found it impossible to notice the danger approaching them. It all happened fast. In a matter of seconds, the water rose to the sky, the laughter turned into screams, and then, out of all the boys who had entered the river, one did not return home. Further details of this chilling attack are unknown, but since this event, the area has been kept under strict local surveillance. However, no matter how many people band together to protect themselves from hippos, this creature seems to care very little about numbers, as you'll see in the following story. Number 4. A group of tourists were exploring one of Kenya's major rivers in a pair of kayaks. The views, of course, seemed extraordinary and reflected an ideal attraction. For these men, the best adventure was one they could build on their sense of exploration. So as they sailed, they thought about the journey and not the dangers they might face. However, it wasn't long before they arrived. One of the tourists heard a strange sound, a noise that immediately made him tense up. Something was approaching them, but it was hidden in the undergrowth of the river. Upon detecting the sound, the creatures seemed to have vanished again. This wasn't enough for the adventure to continue as originally planned. It took only a minute before the hippo marked his territory and emerged from the water with the intention of overturning one of the kayaks. The attack was swift and violent, but it wasn't enough to achieve its goal. The tourists immediately fled the scene and left the river, knowing that pushing their luck is never a good idea. and that the hippo will not miss twice. Of course, they made the best decision, especially if we compare this case with the chilling attack experienced by the crew members on the following video. Number 3. The next case shows a group of tourists traveling aboard a small riverboat. The motley group appears to be enjoying the scenery and the smooth motion of the boat until something changes drastically. In the middle of the ride, something that no one is prepared for happens. A powerful hippo emerges from the water, like a dog trying to jump a fence, pounces on one of the tourists, and tries to snap its jaws into the victim's body. It all happens so fast that it's almost impossible to understand. Even in slow motion, this creature seems to have one goal, and that is to cause death. Its attack is precise and it chooses the place where it's going to execute it very carefully. However, the video doesn't show us more details. The screams of the crew members show alarm and bewilderment. No one knows what to say. Words fail to come out of their mouths, and we only manage to understand that something terrible has happened. A crew member was hit by the attack of the furious hippopotamus. Sadly, although many believe that the solution to avoid these violent attacks would be move to hippos to protected shelters or hunt them, this option isn't advisable at all, and when you see the following video, you'll understand why. Number 2. A group of men got together to try to catch a wild hippo that was terrorizing tourists in the area. After a long chase, the beast seemed cornered. The time had come to capture it, but these men soon discovered how wrong they were. In the midst of the last movements, the hippopotamus did the only thing it had left to do: lunge forward. Only in this attack can we see the magnitude of this beast. Its monstrous size and infernal strength could shatter any human being. Fortunately for these men, they managed to dodge the hippopotamus attacks in time, although that didn't help them to catch it, as the creature managed to escape from their clutches with extraordinary ease. However, sometimes you don't need to disturb a hippopotamus or invade its territory to cause an attack, as you're about to find out. Number 1. Traversing the African savanna isn't an easy task, which is why many tourists prefer to rent jeeps to get around these wide dirt roads. Thanks to this, long distances can be covered in a short time while enjoying the scenery without any inconvenience. Or at least, this is what the theory tells, although reality is usually very different, as evidenced by the strange attack recorded by a couple of tourists. In the video, we can see the arrival of a wild hippopotamus, who approaches the tourist's vehicle at high speed, rabid and ready to ram. Instantly, the men increase their speed, but this isn't enough to avoid the rush. Fortunately, the blow only staggers the vehicle. However, had it been knocked down, we can be absolutely certain that the hippo wouldn't have driven off as it did, but would have devoured this poor man as if they were its favorite food. Of course, the animal kingdom has no mercy. Animals will attack anyone they consider a threat, and we humans are the worst of them all. Nature is constantly rebelling against us, and this is something that seems to be happening more frequently every year. Animals are tired of our dominance, and if you join us in the following videos, you can find out what they're willing to do to end our civilization. Are you ready to learn these disturbing facts? If so, check out these videos.